Joe Zekas from Yo Chicago New Home Notebook. I'm sitting here in the home of Greg Vitti, and we're in for a treat today because Greg is one of the real old-time pros in Chicago, and specifically these days in the Bucktown neighborhood. Greg, you've been at this for what, 40, 50 years now?
Well, actually, I got my real estate license in January of '86. And
Is that all?
Yeah, and I've been a full-time agent since then. There's been a great learning curve over those 23 years, I can tell you that. I do come from a grandfather who started his firm in the 30s in Highwood, and my father did run that firm. So as a child, I thought the last thing I would do was real estate, and as I got older and wiser and realized that, you go have that learning curve on your parents where you think they're not so sharp, and then you realize they're geniuses, and then you're falling right underneath. So people that knew my father realized, wow, Greg, you are the spitting image of him. So I'm proud to say a third-generation realtor. Yes, Joe.
Wow.
When I started real estate, and when I got to Chicago and moved down here in '82, I was in the Lakeview area, and I just loved the Lakeview, Lincoln Park area. Driving down Clark Street, I remember the first time just how hip and cool it was. And at that point with real estate, when I got in '86, very few people were going past Halstead as far as west, and then they weren't going much past Racine. And then it was Ashland. And I was actually I had some good friends who bought a lot of real estate in the early '90s and late '80s in Bucktown. And I was scared of Bucktown, Wicker Park. I came over here a couple times for dinner. I was scared of my car and everything else. And I got to be honest, I stayed in the clean, nice Lakeview, Lincoln Park for most of my sales, and some Gold Coast, and I would go up and down the coast. And I had a client who really wanted an investment property badly in Wicker Park, Bucktown, and I have to credit him with really turning me on to it, and that was probably about 12 years ago. And after selling him a really nice property, one of the better deals I think I've ever gotten anybody, we moved into a new townhouse in Wicker Park, and we lived there for about 5 years. And then we ended up buying this house and selling that and moving over here to Bucktown about 5 years ago. Some of the reasons I just think it's a fantastic area to live is the metro's so close to get to the suburbs and downtown. You've got the Blue Line to get to O'Hare and all of that. You're seconds away from the highway. So those infrastructure things are important to me, but all of the fancy shops, and you can buy things from totally expensive to totally inexpensive and 4 shops away, and they're all over the place.
So 20 years ago, none of that was here.
Right. And it's funny because a lot of Lakeview merchants ended up coming here, and there's been this whole dichotomy of it got too expensive there for the retailers because all of the big guys were coming in, so they moved over here. And now I think the Chamber of Commerce in Bucktown and a lot of the business owners and building owners have done a nice job of getting a mix of retail. So it's been a very positive mix. As far as boutiques, restaurants, bars, nightlife, it is just fantastic here. And because of that, it's really been a nice way to sell the area. So you're not just selling the property, you're selling the neighborhood. Just to give you a rundown of what's been going on in Bucktown. Like in 2006, I think there was 660 some condos and single families sold. Now this year, up to this date, we've got about 320 condos and single families sold with about 35 or 40 pendings.
So you're down about 50%?
We're down about 50% from the heights of 2006.
And what about price levels?
Price levels have they've been stagnant lately, and it's actually a very good time to buy in Bucktown.
Stagnant as opposed to down, or are we not?
Well, they're down. They came way down, and then I think they've kind of held now where they are. And I think, with real estate, it's always motivation. What are people's motivation to sell? If someone really has to sell, they're being transferred out of town, they lost their job, they're in dire straits, yes, they're going to take a low offer. But what I find is a lot of the people in this area decide to hold on, or they sell when they see that there's a good reason to sell. So there's a lot of different factors that are coming into our marketplace.